Monster Hunter World on PC seems to have been a success, with a 329,000 peak player count and being one of the top selling games of 2018 on Steam. But a quick look at the Steam review section on its store page says otherwise. Currently the game is sitting at a 46% positive reviews, which places it in the mixed review category, and dangerously close to the mostly negative category. But does it deserve this review score, or is this another instance of baby ragers review bombing a game because of one minor misstep? Well, the answer is kind of yes to both. Looking through the top negative reviews, you will find complaints of three main things: low FPS, graphic settings that cannot be changed, primarily like depth of field and motion blur and FOV, and constant disconnects. This is what we'll be looking at today. So low frame rate. Average frame rate is not as bad as they make it out to be. On my rig, which has a Ryzen 7 and a 1080 in it, I was seeing averages between 60 to 75 FPS on a 1440p monitor with all settings maxed except for volume rendering. By the way, this setting should be turned off for everyone. This option hurts your FPS and makes the game look absolutely terrible. In this first clip, volume rendering is on at about 50 FPS. In the second clip, volume rendering is off at about 70 FPS. You can tell the colors are a lot more saturated, a lot more realistic looking picture, overall just better looking. Now, the only exception to this average was Rotten Vale, which at this point, I'm calling it Blighttown 2. It's not as bad as old Blighttown, but my average in this zone hovered between 50 to 60 FPS, with occasional dips into the 30s if a lot of enemies were on screen. Typically this happened when the Gyaroses would like swarm an Odogaron if he goes down during a fight, or if you're just fighting the Great Gyros. Overall, I don't consider the average frame rate in this game to be bad, nor is it great. What I would consider bad would be a game that has a cap at like 60 FPS, but usually runs at like 40-45 on ultra settings, constantly dipping below that range as well. I think your frame rate will largely depend on what hardware you have, and how many settings you are willing to turn down if you aren't getting the frames that you want. So far what we know about the game, how the game utilizes resources, is that it is very CPU intensive, taking up between 85 and 95% of your CPU usage. This also reflects to your CPU temps, as you will most likely see your processor running hotter than normal. Because of this, having other programs up at the same time as you play, such as a Twitch stream, will cause your frame rate to dip. I actually tested this by watching a stream at 1080p 60 FPS and noticed about an average of 5 to 10 FPS loss while it was playing. So if you're seeing random drops, make sure you have nothing running in the background like antivirus or some sneaky Chrome tabs. One positive note though is that there seems to be no difference between frame rate on full screen and borderless window. Alright, so the next is graphic options. For me, the available graphic options in the game to be tweaked were sufficient. But according to a majority of the negative reviews on Steam, the option to disable depth of field and motion blur was sorely missed. Both of these issues seem to be very opinionated, as I did not think depth of field was overdone in this game, and the motion blur seemed very subtle, although the effect of motion blur may be enhanced if you're using keyboard and mouse controls versus using a controller, just because of how quickly you can move the camera with the mouse. Again, this negative is kind of left up to personal preference, whether these options bother you or not. Also, one gripe that I saw pretty consistently was the absence of an FOV slider in the graphics options, which is actually false, kind of. Capcom oddly placed the option for this under the camera settings, as shown in the video. It's all the way on the second page, at the bottom, starts the default position, but you can change it to far, that should be default, or close if you're some kind of masochist. The third negative is constant disconnects. So yes, what you heard or read was true. Playing with your friends in this co-op focused game is very difficult. Game will randomly disconnect you from your hunt or online session at any time it sees fit. Now, a couple days ago on the Monster Hunter Reddit, someone posted a temporary fix for this issue. I applied it to my game and surprisingly have not disconnected since. Link for this post is in the description below, and it's pretty simple to implement. Hopefully it helps you guys out too. Since these seem to be a majority of the complaints, with other minor ones like bad mouse and keyboard support, but to be honest, why are you playing Monster Hunter with mouse and keyboard? Like, I guess it's up to your personal preference, but this is definitely a controller game. And clunky menus. I don't believe this warrants a 46% review. Honestly, this game should be around the 70 to 75% review range, which puts it in like a mostly positive category. 46 is honestly reserved for games like No Man's Sky on launch, DayZ like 5 years after launch, and like other really shitty survival games that no one really cares about. But Monster Hunter World? No. So should you ignore these reviews and trust me and buy the game? Well, it depends. If you don't like the sound of some of these negatives, then maybe this won't be the game for you, at least for now, until Capcom possibly releases an optimization patch, yeah? One thing you need to remember about these reviews is that they're not complaining about the game itself, but just how it was integrated into the PC. But if you're not as picky, or if you came from the PS4 version, actually especially if you came from the PS4 version, this is an absolute buy. The positives for me far outweigh the negatives, with faster loading times, better FPS, the ability to use Discord, and better visuals than the PS4 Pro. You would be insane if you passed this up. Trust me, I had 200 hours on PS4, and starting over on the PC feels like a brand new game. For anybody still on the fence, I strongly encourage you to try it, especially if you haven't played a Monster Hunter game before. Hopefully I cleared up some of the confusion surrounding this port. If you guys have any more questions, just drop them in the comments, and thanks for watching. So I've made it to the end of this video. Thanks, I guess. This is just kind of like a weird project. I just picked up the Vegas trial version and decided to make this video because I was bored. So yeah, thanks for watching it, and I don't know. Have a good day.